Welcome to Creative Writing, Introduction to Short Fiction. I am going to get this started here. I am Kimberly Escamilla, and I've set up the shell today and published it today, and I want to go through some initial slides with you. Normally I'll have a lot of the lecture material right in the in Canvas under Pages, which I'll show you later, but I like to do some occasional videos with some slides to kind of check in with you and to go over material together. So for this video, I'm just going to review the course a little bit, talk about Canvas, look at sort of how our pacing is going to go, and then we'll also dig into short story elements and talk about the short story writing process. So for the course, it's my picture of my husband and I. This is my contact info. If you are just sending me regular questions that are a little more detailed or files, you can use the school email with the FHDA. If you are sending me a Google Doc, it's really important that you use my Gmail so I can open it and access it if you want me to review something. My phone number is here. You can text or call anytime. Please identify which course it's for because I do have other classes. If you happen to be on campus, I do have an office on campus, and it's listed there, and my office hours are there. My online office hours are going to be for this class 1 to 3 on Wednesdays, but I'll be in my office 12 to 3. Also Friday 9 to 10. I'm pretty flexible around this stuff. If I am not in class or not on the road driving, I will make appointments to meet with you online or over the phone, do phone calls, or text you back. I'm pretty clear about texting quickly and easily. I'm also on Twitter and Instagram if you're interested in seeing sort of things about creative writing or other issues that could be posted there. So the course objectives are listed in the course outline, and I wanted to list them here. So this is an entry-level sort of short fiction class, though I think some of you have some experience in writing before. So the goal is to understand the elements of short fiction, be able to analyze some, critique each other's work, start writing your own, and be in a workshop setting, which will be an online workshop that will start partway through the quarter. And you want to be able to revise your short fiction to make improvements and then analyze your progress and do some comparative work as well. So if you haven't used Canvas, I can give you a more detailed online sort of step-by-step process, but it's a course management system that you can log into through your My Portal on the Foothill College website. You'll need your CWID number, your student ID number, to do that. And then you can also download the phone app where you can have access to it so that if I send out an announcement or grade something, you get an automatic notification. If you're on your phone a lot, that could be helpful. If you're using a computer, Firefox or Chrome are the best for interacting with Canvas. Safari and Internet Explorer do not work that well. You can, on Canvas, you access your grades, all the content for the course, the files, everything. There are no textbooks required for this course. I found everything online through PDF, so you don't have that added cost. I will, however, be pointing out where I pull things from. So if I'm showing you an excerpt and you like it, you know, you can definitely go to Amazon and buy the book, or your local bookstore and buy the book and learn more from using those resources. Each week we will have a schedule. Sometimes the weeks are combined. It's a 12-week quarter. For the purpose of this class, our weeks start on a Monday and go through Sunday night at midnight. And each of the weeks are set up in modules, which you'll see once you get into the course under Module tab. And then each week discussions are due on Wednesdays. Discussions are always going to be due on Wednesdays at midnight, and all written assignments are going to be due Sunday at midnight. The last week, there's a second assignment that is due not on Sunday, but I think on Tuesday. So other than the final week, everything is in that sort of range as far as schedule. The first 4 weeks are going to be a lot of individual exercises, getting your skills up, where you'll send it just to me and I'll review it. You will also kind of have online discussions, and then starting week 5 you're going to be placed into small groups. Right now you'll see a discussion tab for certain discussions that you're going to have. Those will change a little bit because they will be refigured into the group you're in. So it'll say like group A discussion. Right now it's just a general one, but I don't know the groups yet because I want to get a sense of your interests and where you're at with your writing before I put you into groups. As far as the grades, this is the letter grade format, and it is a creative writing course, so it's more about your effort and following the guidelines and trying and attempting to do this work, and posting on time, submitting on time, regularly participating, being able to really take feedback and improve your stories. Those, and fully, completing exercises. That's kind of where most of your grades are going to come from. However, just a little more detail on that. Total, there's 1,000 points possible. However, it is weighted. So while there's only, for the online discussion, it's only 170 points, it is still 35% of your grade. And more of the points are in the written part, which is 65% of your grade. You can see the weights when you go into assignments and you look up at the top right corner, you'll see the weights. And you can also see the points under each assignment. Okay, so let's dig into some short story elements. I have way more online about each of these, so you can go and look ahead if you want for the online lectures if you're confused about dialogue or setting or something. So there's lecture material you can skip ahead to look at for whatever your needs are. So the elements of a short story: plot, character, setting, dialogue, point of view, and framework. These are the basics. I'm going to go through each one very briefly. This is an example, Get Out. I'm using movies for these visual examples just because I know they probably stand out more to you and can help you understand things a little bit regarding each of the elements. So as far as plot, there tends to be the traditional sort of elements of plot start with some initiating action or exposition. So you figure out whose point of view we're in, and you maybe get a little bit of the setting, and you figure out who the main character is. There needs to be a conflict that comes on pretty quickly if it's a written story in the first few paragraphs, or something has to be established. Then there should be some rising action where there's continued pressure and tension towards that conflict, then a climax of some sort, and then falling action, and then things are resolved. Sometimes the resolution is called a denouement, which means an unloosening where everything sort of unravels. Sometimes it's wrapped up in a pretty bow and it's like a complete resolution. Those are less satisfying actually for most people, but that is an option. An image here from the Fight Club. This book is actually quite good in the sense of a unexpected ending. So the climax is actually moved more towards the end of the book. Pulp Fiction, other films you might be familiar with, could give you ideas about how plot can be altered and played with a little bit. Here's a visual that kind of shows you those steps of the plot, and you can use any short story or film that you've ever read or watched to kind of see how this goes. And sometimes it's different than you'd expect, but it's there. Character is the next area. We talk about characters in different ways. Some of it overlaps. For our purposes, protagonist is the lead character in the story. Then there's sometimes an antagonist if that character has an opponent. Ian Forster had this idea about, he's a novelist, he had this idea about flat and round characters. I don't know if I completely agree with it, but flat characters are sort of uncomplicated. They don't really change throughout the story. Round characters are more complex, and they are more fully developed. Static, definitely no change. They are the stand-in evil stepmother sometimes, so they can fall into stereotypes, but sometimes they're just, they have a purpose, like comic relief, or they might bring a moral understanding to one of the characters, something like that. The dynamic characters are characters who undergo some change throughout the story. Stock characters are, like I said, the ones that are kind of archetypes. So they're the innocent, the loyal boyfriend, the crook, the mean stepmother. Those kind of fall into archetypes or sometimes even stereotypes. So you'll be making characters when you're writing your story and thinking about them. The setting is really important. This is an image from what's left over after the set of The Hobbit had been filmed. But you can think of setting in different ways, though. We often think of geographical place, like country or state or town. But it could be a man-made place, it could be an office, a home, a cemetery, it could be inside of a car. A lot of good short stories take place in a car. You should kind of know the time of day, the time period when it's happening. The climate or weather can have an impact. A lot of times in movies you'll see when the weather is bad, things are bad or going to happen. Lifestyle of the characters should be not overtly necessarily stated, but it can be inferred. Their ethnicity, their socioeconomics, their age, and the atmosphere, like what's going on, what's the environment like? Is it urban, is it rural, is it suburban, is it super densely populated, is it more sparsely populated? Things like that are important. Dialogue is key. Sorry, my son's like yelling in the other room, but he's having fun. Dialogue is key for what you're going to be writing. We'll talk about how to punctuate dialogue later, but so you can introduce a line of speech with a description that makes it clear who's speaking. Like that, you can put an attribution to it, like the last one. You could say he said or she said. You can have the quote and just explain afterwards about who said it and what he was saying or she was saying. You could use a speaking word. My mom explained to me that I was being teased, or within the text. So there's different ways to do dialogue. Sometimes those attributions can come away. You don't need the he said, she said. If it's a very clear dialogue that has a lot of intensity and we know the emotional sort of content of what's happening, you can sometimes remove them. Some famous dialogue from Pulp Fiction for you there. All right, point of view. This is really key. It's one of the things you have to kind of determine early on when you're writing, although you can change it. Some writers will practice rewriting their whole story, changing the point of view, just to get it to kind of explore. You can use I through the whole story and have the narrator be telling the story, first person. Second person, we do have a couple examples of this in our class, but it's when you are explaining things, saying directly you're speaking directly to the reader as if the reader was experiencing it, was the narrator. Third person omniscient uses he, she, it, but it knows everything about all of the characters. So it knows the whole thing. The third person limited, which is like the Harry Potter series, it uses he, she, it, but it's often narrated through a particular character, the protagonist oftentimes. Framework is key as well. When does the story start and end? Is it in the, think of the TV show 24 Hours, right? 24. Is it in one day? Is it over years? Is it a summer? Is it 2 weeks? Is it a journey and a return? Is it a journey that gets interrupted? Is it a journey that has all these visual sort of interesting things that happen along the way, and that what they see is the story? So those are things to consider. Little Miss Sunshine is a journey interrupted on their way to a beauty pageant, and a lot of things befall them on the way. So for the process, you have to kind of play around with ideas, write lines, try to keep a little journal or something, or on your phone, where when you hear people speak, if it interests you, like really pay attention and write stuff down. You will need to plan. In this class, we're going to do storyboards with maybe timelines or bubble method. There's different ways you can do it. You might do a little research. You don't want to spend hours and hours researching things on the internet. You can go down the rabbit hole, but you want to look at things from that era or place or person that you might know. That's why a lot of people start by writing about personal experiences and make them into stories, because they know it well. You'll have a drafting process where you'll write sections and you'll put them together, and then some people have word targets every day. It's up to you how you want to work that. And then you have to decide what form. Do you want to write like sci-fi? Do you want to write a romance? Are you, what are you kind of looking for in your story as far as form? How long will it be? Here are some examples real quick of storyboard templates. Here's one that's filled in, so it gives you the key points of the story. Hunger Games, here are the 3 storylines and how they're plotted out. If you saw that movie, you'll understand, or read the book, you'll know. This one's kind of crazy. This is Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction notes about each of the major 3 acts and what happens in each one. So it can get very detailed in the planning process if you're working on a big project. Of course, he has millions of dollars to work on it too. Anyway, so I hope this gives you a quick idea. We're going to dig into the course course. Go online, start playing around with Canvas. If you have any issues or questions, please call or contact me. These slides without the video are going to be online as well this week in the module 1. Okay, take care and I'll talk to you soon.